All right, so first thing, remember we have 4 inequality signs. We have less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. And remember, when we have greater than or less than or equal to, it has this little line underneath it to signify that it's also included an equal to the number. All right, so to solve number 1, I solved just like I would solve any equation. So I'm going to start by drawing this line down the middle, and I've got to solve for y, so moving everything away from the y. So I'm going to start by adding 8 to both sides here. That's going to cancel the 8's out, so I have then 2y is greater than 12 plus 8, which is 20. And then to finally solve for y, I would divide by 2, so y is going to be greater than 10. That means that y can be any number greater than 10. So we could have 11, 12, 13, so on. So when I graph this, I'm going to start by putting 10 in the middle. Remember, I like to go a couple in either direction to show what's on either side. So to the right would come 11 and then 12. To the left would come 9 and then 8. Now remember, we have 2 things to decide. One, is it going to be an open circle or closed? Remember, if it's an open circle, it is not equal to. So open circles are when we have less than or greater than, and closed circles are equal to. So it's when we have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. This one, since it doesn't include the 10, it's going to be an open circle at 10, and then we want to decide which way we're going to shade. So since it's greater than, we're going to shade to the right towards the 11 and 12 to show that it has to be a number greater than 10. Okay, so same concept on number 2. I'm going to solve for the x this time. And since there's only one number on the side with the x, it's an easy solve. We're going to just divide both sides by that -4 there. And so then we're going to have x. Here's the trick with this. We talked about this before. Whenever you're dividing by this negative, like the -4, the sign is going to flip directions. The inequality sign changes to counteract the flip. So this is actually going to become x is greater than -8. So this is actually the solution here. So if I graph, I'm going to start with -8 in the center, and again move a couple in either direction. So to the right would come -7, then -6. To the left would be -9 and -10. Now, it is a greater than sign, which means it's not equal to. So it is going to be an open circle at the 8. And then because it can be any number greater than, I'm going to shade towards the right again to show that these are numbers greater than -8. So this would be the solution for number 2. So on number 3 and 4, we have to set up a problem. And these are pretty simple. You just have to read what it's asking you for. So on number 3, it says a number increased by 2 is at most 6. So first of all, a number, we don't know what that number is, so that's x. Increased by 2, that would mean to add 2. Here's the key word, is at most. So at most means that 6 is the greatest number that it can be. So we want this to be less than or equal to 6. So my equation is x plus 2 is less than or equal to 6. So in order to solve this one, again, I'm going to draw that line down the middle. And this is an easy solve again. We're just going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have a solution here. X is less than or equal to 4. So when I graph this one, I'm going to start with 4 in the middle, move a couple in either direction. So this would be 5 and 6, and this would be 3 and 2. All right, this time, since the inequality sign is a less than or equal to, it does include the 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put a solid circle, a closed circle at 4. And because it's less than, I'm looking for numbers smaller than 4. So I'm going to shade this one to the left to show that these are numbers smaller than 4. So this would be the solution for number 3. All right, same thing on number 4. I'm going to set up this one as well. This one said 4 times a number is more than 108. So again, you've got to start with 4 times a number. Okay, so that means to multiply by 4, but I don't know what the number is, so that's the x. So we're going to say 4 times the x is more than, here's that key word for inequality. So this means greater than 108. So to set up here, we would have 4 times x, which is 4x, must be greater than 108. So to solve on this one, again, easy step, we're just going to divide both sides by that 4 there. So we have x must be greater than 27. That's our solution. So I'm going to start with 27 in the middle, move a couple in either direction, so we would have 28 followed by 29, and then on the left 26 and then 25. So to graph this one, it is a greater than sign. That means it can be any other number larger than 27. Doesn't include the 27 though, so that's going to be an open circle at 27. And then I'm going to shade to the right to show that these are the numbers greater than 27. So that's how we would solve number 4. Alright, so let's look at a problem now, a word problem where we have to create an equation, then identify what's happening. So this one says that Johnny's found a cool DVD player that he wants to buy his mom for her birthday, and his dad decides to help him out by giving him $25 to opening a checking account. Now, he mows yards for other people in the neighborhood, and after paying his expenses, he's going to earn $7 for each yard that he mows. So we're going to make a table to show the relationship between the number of yards that he's mowed and the amount of cash that he has in his account. So first of all, he's starting out no matter what with $25. So $25, that's what his dad gave him. Now he mows yards for $7 per yard. So to show a process here, we're going to start out with 25, but we're going to add 7 per yard that he mows. So if I mow 0 yards, that's $0. So 25 plus 0 would give me a total of $25 in his checking account. Now, for every yard that he mows on top of that, he's going to gain an additional $7. So we could say 25 plus 7 times 1, that would be 32. For 2 yards, he would gain an extra $14. So that would give me up to 39. And for 3 yards, that would get me an additional $21. Oops. It would get me an additional $21. So that would put me up to 46. So we obviously know we're increasing. So we want to write an expression for this. Our expression is what he starts out with, which is that 25, plus the $7 per yard. And since I don't know how many yards he's going to mow at the end, I'm going to represent that with X. So this would be an expression that I would use to solve the rest of these questions. So this first question we're going to answer is, how much money is Johnny going to have in his account after he mows 7 yards? Well, first of all, if I know he's mowing 7 yards, I can always plug that into the equation. I can say that I know he's mowing, or he has $25, plus he gets $7 per yard that he mows. If he mows 7 yards, that's going to give me an additional $49, which is going to give me a total of $74 that he would have in his account. Now, I'm going to represent that in the table, and I'm going to put that 7 and 74 in the center. I'm also going to look at what happens if I mow 6 yards or 8 yards, so on either side of mowing 7 yards. So if he mows 6 yards, he's going to have $67. And if he mows 8 yards, he's going to have $81. So what we want to answer here is a statement. So if he mows, or after mowing 7 yards, so that means 7 or more, how much money is he going to have? So he's going to have at least $74. So that would be how I write my statement. So after mowing 7 yards, he will have at least $74. All right, so for this one, it asks us how many yards will he have to mow in order to have more than $75 in his account. So again, we have this equation or this expression over here. This time I'm not given the yards, I'm given the amount of money. So I want to figure out the outcome to this. So the way I set this up is to again use my expression 25 plus 7x. And this time I want it to be more than 75. So that means greater than 75. So I can solve this again just like I solve any other expression. I'm going to start by subtracting the 25 from both sides. So this would give me 7x is greater than 75 minus 25, which is 50. And yes, this isn't going to be exactly a whole number. We're going to divide both sides by 7. And that's going to leave me with x has to be greater than approximately 7.1. Now, we're going to round that up. It has to be approximately greater than 7. So let's fill in our table for what this would look like at 6, 7, and 8 yards. So I know at 6 yards mowed, he's going to earn $67. At 7 yards mowed, he's going to have $74. And at 8 yards mowed, he's going to have $81. So in order to have more than $75, because 75 would fall somewhere between 74 and 81, he'll have to mow at least 8 yards. So my statement this time, in order to have more than $75, he will have to mow at least 8 yards. All right, number 9, it says how much money will Johnny have in his account if he mowed at least 16 yards? So same thing on this one. This time I'm given the number of yards, so I can plug that in for this x value here. So we could say 25 plus 7 times 16. So that would give me 25 plus 112, which would leave me with $137. So when he mows 16 yards, he'll have $137. I'm going to put that in my table. I'm also going to look at either side of 16, so at 15 and at 17. So if he mows 15 yards, he'll have $130. And if he mows 17 yards, he'll have $144. So the question was if he mows at least 16 yards, that means 16 or more yards, how much money is he going to have? So at 16, he has $137. So if he mows 16, he'll have $137. If he mows more than that, then he'll have more than $137. So my statement this time, if he mows at least 16 yards, he will have at least $137. All right, this time it says how many yards will he have to mow to have no more than $900 in his account. So again, we have our equation. This time we're given the amount of money. So remember, the x is the number of yards. The result of it is the amount of money. So I'm going to start with my equation, 25 plus 7x, and I want no more than. So that means less than or equal to 900. So I can solve this just like I normally would. I'm going to start by drawing the line down the middle of the equal sign. And I'm going to begin by moving this 25 from one side to the other. So minus 25 on both sides. That leaves me with 7x is less than or equal to 900 minus 25, which is going to give me 875. And then I would divide both sides by 7. That's going to give me a solution of x has to be less than or equal to 125. Now, I'm going to put this in my chart again. I know he has to mow 125 yards to make $900. I'm also going to look on either side of 125 to see what's happening to my amount of money. So at 124, he would have $893. And at 126, he would have $907. So if we want to look at where he has $900 or less, so no more than 900, so less than, I'm going to look at how many yards he would have to mow. So my statement here, so to have no more than $900 in his account, he would have to mow no more than 125 yards.